مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
Hello, my students, and welcome to our second distance learning lesson today. The title of our lesson today is to understand, use, and practice the passive voice. Now, let's try to understand what's meant by the passive voice. In the passive voice, a sentence is used in the passive voice, or on the other hand, when the subject is acted on by the verb. So I mean a sentence is in the passive voice. On the other hand, when the subject is acted on by the verb, the passive voice is always constructed with a conjugated form of verb to be. The conjugative form of verb to be plus the verb's past participle. Though this usually generates a preposition as well. That sounds much more complicated than it is. Passive voice is actually quite easy to detect. For these examples of passive voice, we all transform the three active sentences above to illustrate the difference. Passive voice examples. Bananas are adored by the monkeys. The money was counted by the cashier. The squirrel was chased by the dog. Let's take a closer look at the first pair of sentences. Monkeys adore bananas, and bananas are adored by the monkeys. The active sentence consists of monkeys. Monkeys is the subject of the sentence, plus adore the verb, plus bananas the the object. The passive sentence consists of bananas, which is the object, plus are ordered, a form of verb to be, plus the past participle ordered, plus preposition, plus monkeys, the subject. Making the sentence passive flipped the structure and necessitated the preposition by. In fact, all the three transformed sentences above required the addition of by. When to use active and passive voice? Using the active voice conveys a strong, clear tone, and passive voice is subtler and weaker. Here's some other advice. Don't use the passive voice just because you think it sounds a bit fancier than the active voice. Active voice means a sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb. Passive voice means that a subject is the recipient of a verb's action. You may have learned that the passive voice is weak and incorrect, but it isn't that simple. When used correctly and in moderation, the passive voice is fine. In English grammar, verbs have 5 properties: the voice, the mood, the tense, the person, and the number. Here we are concerned with the voice. The two grammatical voices are active and passive. So what's the difference between the active and the passive voice? Let's start with the active voice. When the subject of the sentence performs the verb's action, we say that the sentence is in the active voice. Sentences in the active voice have a strong, direct, and clear tone. Here are some short, straightforward examples of the active voice. Active voice examples. Monkeys adore bananas. Now, how can we transform this sentence into the passive? We can say bananas are adored by monkeys. The cashier counted the money. So this is the active voice. Now the money was counted by the cashier. The dog chased the squirrel. The squirrel was chased by the dog. So these are examples of the simple examples of the passive voice. Now look at now my students. Now my students, I'm just going to show you a video about the aforementioned topic. That's the passive voice. Now watch this video and tell me what the video is mainly about and what did you learn from that video. Now watch this video.
Let's talk about active voice and passive voice. Look at this sentence. The teacher teaches the students. In this sentence, the teacher is the subject because the teacher performs the action.
The teacher, the subject.
The action in this sentence is teaches. The students are the object because the students receive the action. In English, we have subject and object pronouns. For example, I is a subject pronoun,
I, the subject.
while me is an object pronoun.
Object pronoun.
He is a subject pronoun, and him is an object pronoun.
Right.
She is a subject, and her is an object.
Right.
And so on. In active sentences, subject pronouns can take the place of the subject, and object pronouns can take the place of the object. The teacher teaches the students is an active sentence because the subject comes before the verb and the object. To change this to passive, we would put the object first, plus a form of to be, plus the past participle of the verb, plus by, plus the subject. The subject is optional in passive voice. Okay, let's change the sentence to passive voice. This sentence is in the present tense. The object comes first, the students, then the form of to be, which, in this case, is the word are. Then the past participle of teach, which is taught, then by, and last, the subject. The students are taught by the teacher. Now let's try a sentence in the past tense. The teacher taught the students. To write this in passive voice, we would say, the students were taught by the teacher. Notice the only thing that changes is the form of to be. And now let's try the future tense. The teacher will teach the students. In passive voice, this sentence is, the students will be taught by the teacher. And now the present continuous tense. The teacher is teaching the students. In passive voice, this sentence is, the students are being taught by the teacher. And now the present perfect tense. The teacher has taught the students. In passive voice, we say, the students have been taught by the teacher. And a modal verb, the teacher should teach the students. In passive voice, we say, the students should be taught by the teacher. We can use passive voice in every tense. Sometimes a sentence can have more than one object. For example, the boy gave flowers to the girl.
We have two objects in this
sentence. Flowers are the direct object, and the girl is the indirect object.
Right.
We can write this sentence in passive voice in two ways.
Right.
The first way, the girl was given flowers.
Again, the direct object.
The second way, flowers were given to the girl. Remember, if you use the indirect object first, we must include the preposition to. There are three main reasons to use passive voice. The first reason is if the subject is unknown. For example, his wallet was stolen. Notice we use was, the past form of to be, and stolen, the past participle of steal. Who stole his wallet? We don't know. That's why we use passive voice. The second reason we use passive voice is to emphasize the object. For example, Peter was not chosen for the football team. Here, the subject is the coach, but the coach is not important. Peter is important. The third reason we use passive voice is when the subject is obvious from the context. For example, the baby was born yesterday. Did you know that born is the past participle of bear? Here the subject is mom, but this is obvious, so we don't need to say it.
Now, let's look at these examples as well. Active voice. The active voice, the subject performed the action of the verb. For example, Omar plays tennis every week. So we start with tennis. Then the one of the forms of verb to be, which is used with the singular, is, and the past participle of play, played, or tennis is played every week. We focused on the action, not on the agent. The agent is playing tennis, and the action is playing tennis, and the agent is Omar. So we've forgotten all about Omar, and we focus on the action which was done. The action is playing tennis. Tennis is played every week. Salim cleans the room every morning. So we start the sentence with the room. The room is cleaned every morning. Ali watches two films weekly. Two films are plural. So we used plus the past participle of watch. That's watch it. Two films are watched weekly. Now we change it to using the past tense. We've just gone through the first tense, which is the simple present. Now we move on to tackle or talk about the second tense, which is the simple past tense. Ali watches two films yesterday. Now we start with two films. Two films are plural. That's why we use the were. Two films were watched yesterday. Now the subject, verb, and object. This is the construction of the simple English sentence. Subject, verb, and object. Now, when we convert the sentence into the passive, we start with the object, then the form of verb to be, then the past participle. The past participle from the verb, then forms of verb to be either the present, which is am, is, are, or the past was or were. Now I want you to do this task on your own. Change the following sentences into the passive voice. Ahmed cleans the flat every Friday. Now, how can we initiate or start the sentence? Ahmed is the subject, cleans is the verb, and the flat is the object. So we start the sentence with the flat. Then you can do that on your own. We can say the flat is cleaned every day. Sally always helps Hoda to achieve her goals. So Sally is the subject, helps is the verb, and Hoda is the object. Hoda is helped to achieve her goals. Ali booked a flight to London last Monday. So look at the difference between the first and the second, then the third and the fourth. Both sentences in both the first and the second sentences are in the simple present. The third and the fourth are in the simple past. So Ali booked a flight to London last Monday. We'll start with the flight. Try it. A flight was booked to London last Monday. Mom finished her dinner at 7 p.m. yesterday. So start with dinner was finished by mom at 7 p.m. yesterday. Now study the following examples. Omar cooks a nice meal every day, right? We made this necessary conversion. We start with a nice meal. A nice meal is singular. So we used the one form of verb to be with the singular, which is. A nice meal is cooked every day. Now it's your turn to write the following sentences using the passive voice. Now, on your right, you can find the conjugation of the verbs present, past, and past participle. See, saw, and seen. Drink, drank, drunk. Get, got. Make, made, and made. Eat, ate, eaten. Am, is, or are, was, were, and been in the past participle. Now it's your turn to do the task on your own. Now, I want you to rearrange the following words to make sentences correctly. Glass, my, was, yesterday broken. It's your turn to rearrange these words into to make a correct English sentence. Football and played as Paya every day is. Now it's your turn to do the same. Now, my final question for you is, what's the past participle of eat? Now, think and write down the past participle of the verb eat. Complete the following sentence correctly. My room painted last month. Now, what is needed only is write one form of verb to be, either in the present or the past. Which is the correct form of verb to be used in this context? Should it be used in the present or in the past?